Have you ever wondered why we get attracted to like the wrong person? Someone who's maybe not good for us? Like, have you ever wondered why women in particular express a lot of attraction to male prisoners, especially rapists and murderers? Like, the more dangerous, the more letters they get from women. This is a phenomenon. Okay, so today we're going to do a deep dive into the neurology, the psychology behind this well-documented phenomenon. I'm going to show you an example on the Whatever podcast. But first, we're going to start with a neurologist who gets into the phenomenon of how people conflate anxiety with attraction. And the reason is there's a lot of similar neurological structures that get engaged with both of those emotions, but there's a key piece that makes this decision. And here it is. This won't surprise you. When someone knows how to process their emotions, when they are, I'll say, emotionally mature, then they don't have this problem. So we're dealing with emotional immaturity, and that typically stems from childhood trauma. And we'll get into all of that. But let's start with, watching this phenomenon and happen, like, live in front of us. So I'm going to pull up the Whatever podcast so we can see how kind of ingrained and how just attracted this woman is to Luigi Mangione, who is the killer of the United Healthcare CEO. The man's in jail for a public murder, and she's super attracted. Let's watch it in action. Okay, let me find it. There it is.
Would you date Luigi Mangione?
Oh yeah.
Closer to the mic?
Yes. I mean, I'm also not going to cry over a CEO who denies people health insurance getting.
You think he's sitting there going through each claim and saying no, yes, no, yes?
But I mean, he built a system that is doing that to people.
I mean, the system was pre-existing.
But
he had the power. That CEO has the power to make the situation better. And he's instead using the power to make that situation worse.
So
Luigi, he stood on business. And I like a man that can protect and provide.
Oh my God,
yeah,
I think it's fair to be critical of the healthcare system and the health insurance system in the United States. However, vigilantism and just murking a CEO in the street, completely incompatible with civilized society. Completely incompatible. Oh. And you guys are bro, you guys should not be, we should just, honestly, you're a citizen, but we should deport you. Would you date Luigi?
So, I mean, Brian is 100% correct. That has no place. Vigilantism has no place in a civilized society. And I'd say a civilized society consists of emotionally mature adults. And so let's, before we get into our first doctor in this, let's watch a Joe Rogan podcast where they get into this, showing that women are super attracted to violence, and particularly women. And why? Because I used to have a roommate that had an extremely traumatic childhood. Her dad used to hold her down, rape her, and it was with the mom's help. And she did exactly what Joe Rogan's, this video is going to show us. Exactly, this was her all the time. Okay, let me, oh, here we are. Joe Rogan. Okay, let me make it bigger. I have a lot of windows open. Okay.
Do you ever do a demographic breakdown of who watched? Like, does Netflix have a demographic breakdown of who watches those crime shows? Because it's mostly women, isn't it?
Anecdotally, that's what everybody says. There was a funny bit on Saturday Night Live the other night that was like, what do ladies do when they're home alone? Wait, then they like throw on the murder shows.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know. It's a weird thing. And when we were making
we're going to get into why that is. We attract what we are through energetic resonance. We'll do a deep dive into the laws of physics about why this happens to people.
Night Stalker, we would get to the point in the interview where it's finally I would ask everybody, like, okay, so for some reason or another, this guy becomes like the Jim Morrison of serial killers, because like when he's paraded through the courtroom, all of a sudden he's got these like groupies and fans, and they're sending him. And I had gotten access to all of the like naked pictures that the girls are sending in, because this author had written a book about him, had all.
My roommate had crime shows on constantly. Constantly. We attract what we are so we can see ourselves. We're souls having a human experience, and souls are energy bodies proven by physicists. That's why I rely on the laws of physics to explain why this happens. And we're going to lean on an Einstein quote: the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. But let's learn a little bit more about how this happens.
This stuff. And I was like, and you always have to kind of ask that awkward question of like, so why does this guy become this sort of crazy sex symbol object of desire, obscure object of desire? And it's always like kind of particularly with the women who are being interviewed, but everybody. And nobody quite has an answer. Is it the bad boy thing? Is it the celebrity thing? But this is somebody that like, I think as one of the people said, this is somebody that would eat you for dinner, not like, it's craziness to have any attraction to it, but yet it exists. This guy has like groupies and fans.
And it's very common for murderers to get,
Hugely
especially
common.
murderers of women, to get all these propositions from women.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Super strange.
And, I read something.
There's a name for it. It's called hybristophilia. And if you have a philia, it's a problem.
About that. No, Whitney Cummings was actually telling me about this. She said she read that it was something that had to do with, there was like an evolutionary benefit to getting close to killers. Like that. I think this is theoretical.
In what regard?
That the idea of it's very hard to kill someone
once you have like human personal contact. Is that what you're saying?
No, that the act of killing someone, that it's difficult to do, and that it requires like someone who is to be capable of taking another person's life, and to be close to that person means somehow or another you're protected by them, and that they're willing to kill, and that this is like something that existed thousands and thousands of years ago in our DNA, this desire to be close to killers because you were more likely to survive because there were so many killers. Like if you went back in time, a few thousand years ago.
Yeah, I mean, he's saying the same thing. I'm going to stop sharing this. I'll link it below. But he's saying the same thing as the woman on the Whatever podcast, right? That, he stands on business. He'll provide and protect. But let's keep going. And we're going to get into in this next video with this doctor. She's a neuroscientist, and she's going to share some studies that were done on how people and when, like, how does it work when they conflate anxiety with romantic attraction. Okay, so the higher the anxiety goes up, then the higher the romantic attraction goes up. And we'll see that here in a second. It's amazing. It's fascinating. Okay. Oh. All right, Delia.
The feeling of knowing is mistaking a belief or a feeling for knowledge about facts and reality.
This cuts to the core of so much stuff.
Absolutely, it does. And when I discovered this, John, I was like, what the hell? So for me, I wrote a Substack that said this is the most dangerous feeling in the world.
The feeling of knowing.
The feeling of knowing, where you mistake a feeling for knowledge about reality and facts. So next story. Now, this is in 1974, and this is a very famous experiment. Another two researchers decided to see what happens when they test people under conditions of high anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they did, they had an experimental group and a control group. The experimental group was a bunch of young men who walked over a wonky bridge over flowing water, over 200 feet in the air. And the control group was just 10 feet above the running water. But what they did, they sent a woman across the bridge to meet the men as they were walking. And she said, "Would you please fill out this survey for me?" And they filled out the survey of this experience that they were involved in. And she said, "Here's my telephone number if you need to ask me any questions after this experiment." And she tore it off and she gave it to them. Now, the results were really telling because 50% of the people that walked across the bridge, the 200-foot plus bridge, phoned the woman. Only 12.5% of the people that walked over the 10-foot bridge phoned the woman. And that's a huge discrepancy. And so what they discovered, and they term this misattribution of arousal. So what happened? These men walking across the bridge were highly anxious. This was a scary experience for them. But their brain said to them, "I think I'm attracted to this woman."
Oh, so like literally arousal, misattribution. So this woman comes over, she's just, it's just part of this.
Yeah, and we'll talk in a minute, but physiologically, what's happening is that the insula part of the brain that deals with interoception, which is the ability to understand your emotions, is underdeveloped in people who conflate anxiety with attraction. They're emotionally immature. And what I know about men and sex addictions, because I attracted a lot of men into my life, that was, I have a very anxious attachment style. I've healed from it, and repressed sexuality. So exact opposite of me is an avoidant attachment style with a sex addiction. Yeah. And I could say that their masculinity had not gone from their root, which is, between their root chakra, which is between their legs, right below the sacral chakra, to their heart. So that when they encounter feminine energy, that's their initial kind of knee-jerk response. And I've seen other men talk about that as well. But when a man, grows into his maturity, then he's not sexually attracted to every woman on the street. Sure, there's pretty women, but he has emotional control, which is sexual control. Sexuality is emotional intimacy. It's not casual.
It's experimental, weird thing.
Absolutely.
And they're like,
"I'm attracted to her." So
she gave me her number. It's like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
But only 12.5% of the ones that walked over the low bridge phoned her. So this is a significant difference. So these researchers knew that they were onto something. They didn't understand it exactly, and it's many years ago that.
We're going to get into that in a second, but let me pull back out here. Yeah, when I came to understand that their emotional maturity had not left their root, like let's use Justin Waller. He's in my book. He's Andrew Tate's best friend as an example. I attracted into my personal life, and I helped them both with my shamanic gifts. And Justin's mom has a YouTube channel complaining about Justin, giving out her phone number, people to call her to complain more about Justin. And when we met, I still had a lot of trauma to heal. So I was helping him with his maternal wounds. He was helping me with my paternal wounds. And when I saw his mom's YouTube channel, I was like, oh, there it is. So he has a lot of repressed pain in his root, which is the maternal, kind of the maternal chakra, so to speak, especially for men. And his emotional maturity has not moved up into his heart. He connects to women via his solar plexus and not his heart. And where did I find Andrew? In his heart. That makes sense because narcissistic men, which is the kind of men that I attracted in my life, they typically go to their male friends for what they call emotional support. They get validated, but no one holds each other accountable. Oh, you got more girls. Oh, you led more women to their demise because casual sex leads women to their demise. Casual sex destroys women's ability to pair bond as wives and mothers, leading them to their demise. So why are men fist pumping, leading women to their demise? And when we lead women to their demise, then they are not healthy emotional centers. And then you get someone like Justin's mom. Like my mom. My mom was an alcoholic. My dad was a workaholic. So I'm, a huge fan of men doing the work and gaining self-control and moving their healthy, mature masculinity out of their root and into their heart, where it belongs as a grown man. Okay, so let's get into the psychology and physiology behind it before we understand, I'm going to do a deep dive into the Joe Rogan experience, like why women do that. But let's get in and understand this a little bit more so we understand the psychology behind it and the physiology before we get into Albert Einstein's quote and the answer to all this conundrum. Einstein's quote, "The field is the sole governing agency of the particle." The field, meaning the energy field or the energy body, is the sole governing agency of the body. And we're going to learn how the heart is a vortex. Fascinating. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm going to ChatGPT. So I asked the question based on neuroscience, why would someone conflate anxiety and attraction? Like, what's going on here? Anxiety and attraction can feel similar because they activate many of the same physiological and neural systems. The brain doesn't label sensations, it interprets them after the body reacts. So it's an interpretation problem. Okay? That's why we're going to get to it in a second. I said that it's a introception problem, which is an interpretation problem. It's an internal, what emotion is this? An emotional maturity problem. It interprets them after the body reacts. When arousal is high, the brain can misattribute the source. Okay? Shared arousal circuitry. Both anxiety and romantic attraction activate the sympathetic nervous system, increased heart rate, sweaty palms, dilated pupils. Adrenaline release, heightened attention and vigilance. Something important is happening. The amygdala's role. It detects emotional salience, not just fear. It activates when something is threatening, novel, socially significant, reward relevant. So it activates for a lot of different reasons. So it activates in both anxiety and attraction. Dopamine and reward circuits, same thing. But when when the dopamine hit is extended, like there's a lot of work between it, then that signals that someone has self-control and they don't have an addiction. But the misattribution of arousal effect, classic psychology experiments show that when people experience psychological arousal, like fear from crossing a shaky bridge, exactly the thing that we just heard about, right? They are more likely to interpret it as romantic attraction if an attractive person is present. Okay, so here's the thing. Yes, they had a woman, probably she was attractive. I don't know. I didn't research it that much. The brain asks, my heart is racing. Well, why? And men have a much more fragile nervous system than women. They break easier. Okay, like that's designed for the protection. Women are designed to be the emotional center to process emotions. So that's why women's nervous systems are far more robust than men's nervous systems. Like a potential partner is nearby, it may conclude it must be attraction. Like there's only one thing, it has to be attraction. It can't be that she came out just to give information. Attraction, like one thing. Femininity hits, sex. That's an emotionally immature person. Insula and introception. The insula integrates body signals, heart rate, gut sensations, with emotional interpretation. People who are less skilled at distinguishing internal states, lower introceptive clarity, are more likely to confuse anxiety with attraction, to confuse excitement with fear, to mislabel arousal states. Emotional granularity matters. This is emotional maturity, okay? Attachment systems activation. If someone triggers attachment circuitry, oxytocin release, cortisol increase, heightened vigilance. This mix can feel intense and destabilizing. If someone grew up with unpredictable caregiving, attraction may be wired together with anxiety. The brain associates love with threat. Well, there it is. There's the hybristophilia. There's the woman on the whatever podcast. Unpredictable caretaking, meaning they had a traumatic childhood and they haven't healed yet. Okay? When we have a traumatic childhood, we prioritize attachment And we deprioritize individuation because individuation mandates that we're authentic. But when we're authentic in an unpredictable caregiving situation, that most oftentimes leads to abuse, physical, emotional, sexual. Stop expressing yourself. It's the expression of the child that becomes the problem and not the adult's immature emotional state and inability to remain calm and handle the situation like a grown-ass adult. But, and we have, over 50% of adults do not have a secure attachment to self. Between 40 and 60% of kids do not have a secure attachment to self, meaning they prioritize attachment and deprioritize authenticity or the individuation process. And when you individuate, you become a grown-ass adult. So uncertainty amplifies attraction. Uncertainty is feminine, like emotions are feminine and emotions are uncertain. Like women live in the moment. So this moment I feel this and that moment I feel that. And all of them are legitimate and valid emotions as long as, I'm expressing it at home and not taking my crap out on people. But they're all legitimate emotions. Neuroscience shows that intermittent reinforcement, inconsistent attention, activates reward systems more strongly than predictable attention. That unpredictability also triggers anxiety. So the brain can bond more strongly under mixed anxiety reward conditions if they were raised in an unpredictable caretaking environment. Okay, so we're going to come back to the psychology. You do a Carl Jung analysis. He's my favorite. Let me stop sharing. But let's do a deeper dive into this whole Einstein thing that the field is the sole governing agency of the particle, meaning the energy field or the soul is a sole governing agency of the body. Okay, and we're going to get into a field of science called epigenetics. Epi means before genetics, the field before genetics. Okay. So let's start with Dr. Joe Dispenza. He is a neuroscientist who specializes in healing trauma, and he's going to use the Einstein quote so we can start talking about it. Here we go.
Einstein said the field, the wave, the energy is the sole governing agency of the particle. Energy controls matter. He didn't say particle controls the particle. He said the field controls the particle. If you change the information in the field, can you change the projection, the particle in three-dimensional reality? This is a holographic universe. So if the quantum field...
So, yeah, we live in a holographic universe. We're going to get into that wisdom in a second. So what's going on here? So if the field or the soul is immature, has not, is housing a lot of fear, guilt, and shame because they had a traumatic childhood, then that's expressed through the body, particle, right? So when the field is inundated with fear, guilt, and shame and all of those, there's no healthy boundaries internally, it's easy to see how anxiety and attraction can misfire. Right? We attract what we are so we can see ourselves. Like I was raped and I attracted Andrew Tate into my life. And that's all I need to say on that topic. And I mean, I guess that, but then I could go on that Andrew Tate was warm up for 2 fire academy instructors, both decorated. And then that led me back to my guy from my childhood, who's former FBI, currently the head of global security at GoDaddy. Yeah. A lot of the men that women are super attracted to, that women will go, oh, well, I'll just be one of your, I'll just be one of, they don't value themselves, are these exact men. But on the surface, right? I mean, he's a fire academy instructor. What's the problem? What's the problem? Oh, I'm going to point out the problem. They're having a lot of casual sex. Casual sex leads women to their demise, destroys women's ability to pair bond as wives and mothers. And they have an oath of office to protect the most vulnerable. So yeah, one is a retired fire captain and one's currently a fire engineer who teaches urban search and rescue. So yes, I called that out to the Dean of Public Safety. No, I didn't get a response because for 20 years, I did risk and issue analysis at Anthem Blue Cross. So I specialize in legal risk. So that's quite a lawsuit. I mean, I never went out with these guys, so I don't have a lawsuit. But the women that they had a lot of casual sex with, might have a lawsuit because of their oath of office. So yeah, we gotta clean ourselves up here. There's a reason there's the first responders of a mental health crisis there. Okay, so next, let's get into, I lost my train of thought there for a second, but we had Dr. Joe Dispenza, and now we're going to learn about epigenetics. Okay, we're going to learn from Dr. Bruce Lipton, and he has a fascinating fact about adopted kids getting cancer that's not in their genetics. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, here we go. Power epigenetics.
Whatever picture you hold in your mind, the brain releases complementary chemistry that matches that picture, and it releases it into the body. And the chemistry of the blood is what controls the genes and the behavior. Children, when adopted into a family where there's cancer running in that family, the adopted child will get the same family cancer. But the point, the adopted child has totally different genetics. What was
Yeah, I went to a small talk with Dr. Bruce Lipton, like 20 people. It was amazing. And he shared that less than 1% of our diseases come from our genetics. Over 99% of our mental health and our physical diseases come from our soul, our energy body. I mean, if I think of a hamburger, my mouth salivates whether the hamburger is here or not. Power of my soul. If I think of a man sexually, I can get all aroused and he's not even here.
the point? It was being adopted into a family where the programming of that child is what caused the cancer. It's consciousness who releases the chemistry to the environment that controls the genes. And you can change your consciousness, and you can change your environment. And all of a sudden I said, oh my God, we were programmed to be victims.
Yes, we were programmed to be victims, so we are easily controlled. Programmed to be victims. It's in the soul.
It turns out we are masters of our genetic activity. And this is the new science called epigenetics. Whatever picture
I mean, if everyone knew that, less than 1% of our diseases come from our genetics, why would we spend so much money on medications, doctors, surgery, all kinds of things? It's a money model. Like when I do interviews with therapists, they don't want me to say anything that might be triggering to their clients who watch their channel. So they're codependent with a client who's not even present because they're protecting their business. Because I say stuff about trans and bi and, whatever I want to say. But they're more concerned about protecting their business than in doing the work of the healing. And if they were, they would know that triggers are your healing friend and not your healing foe, like Carl Jung said. What irritates you about others can lead you to an understanding of yourself. But that's uncomfortable in a therapeutic environment that might not get people to come back, and there's the destroyed business model. Just saying a couple things. Okay, so we had Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. Bruce Lipton. And so let me see what other videos I have here. Oh, yeah. Okay. We're going to talk about the heart. Okay, so let's talk a second about how all of this works. Oh, let me bring up something else to show how our emotions work and how we express our emotions, because this will really help everyone understand the whole process of how the emotions go from the soul out through the heart onto the field, how we attract what we are, why the universe is a mirror. Okay, all of this. Let me okay, go and find, here we go. All right, let me present and then I can share. Oh, no, I got to share and then present, sorry. Okay, webinar. All right. So let me present, make it bigger. All right. Laws of physics on the left. So our souls communicate via emotions, and our emotions vibrate at different frequencies. And here on the left, this is Map of Consciousness by Dr. David R. Hawkins. He wrote the book Versus Force, Letting Go. He's a very famous doctor. Here on the left, 20 hertz shame. So when a soul expresses shame, it vibrates at 20 hertz. When a soul expresses courage, that's 200 hertz. Love, 500 hertz. Enlightenment and emotion, 100 to 1,000 hertz. And so our emotions come out through our hearts, and our heart is a vortex, like a black hole. So everything in the center gets projected externally. Universe is a mirror. You project it externally so we can see ourselves. It says right here, the universe is a mirror showing me myself in every moment as a constant feedback loop for self-improvement. That is why my roommate, who was so abused as a child, she's not my roommate anymore. I mean, she's lived here in years, but watches all those crime shows, showing her herself, showing her how bad her childhood was. It's in her, she resonates with it. She has a vibrational match with it because it's in her soul. She hasn't processed them through. You know, and it was even difficult for her to admit that those kind of things even happened. I mean, it was very difficult for her to admit what had happened in her childhood. So our emotions come out our heart. Heart's a vortex. It projects them out onto the quantum field. And then what we resonate with, what's a vibrational match, draws our perception and our attention, and that creates our reality. Like, why was I attracted to Justin Waller, Andrew Tate's best friend, when other people weren't, other women aren't? You know, I'm attracted to a lot of men that other women aren't. Why am I attracted and other women aren't? The universe is a mirror, showing us ourselves in every moment as a constant feedback loop for self-improvement. So let's watch this video and see how it works, okay? First, they're going to have two tuning forks, one tuned to 512 and one to 440. And when the 512 moves, the 440 doesn't even notice, like no one's even there. There is no connection. There is no resonance. But when they're both 440, there's the resonance. Let's see this. Follow the move. No movement. There's movement. That's what would draw your perception. Like if you see a movie with your best friend, what your best friend was drawn to in the movie and what really touched them will not always be the same as what touches you because your souls are not identical. We attract what we are through energetic resonance, meaning a vibrational match. If I have selfishness, say there's selfishness in me and it's 40 hertz. When I activate that part of myself and, through my voice, through my actions, and the people around me respond, the ones I'm kind of pulling my attention are the ones that also have that 40 hertz activated. You know, Rumi used to say, what you seek seeks you. And quantum physics has proven that. When I move that part of me, then that other 40 hertz also moves. But when I stop moving, it stops moving. Like we draw into each other and then we let each other go. We draw in and we let each other go. Connect and disconnect. Women connect, men disconnect. Connect, disconnect. It is what it is. Okay, so now that we understand emotions and they're come out through our hearts, let's learn how the heart is a vortex. And that what we've been taught, the pump, is based on the laws of physics, impossible to for it to function that way. Additionally, we now know, it's documented fact, that blood flows in a fetus before the heart is formed. And then I just saw a video on it. When the heart cells start being created, they synchronize and then they move together. Their energy synchronizes. Oh, we're doing this job. Okay, we're all doing the heart. Okay, we all come together. Okay, let me pull up Instagram. Here we go. Learn how the heart is a vortex.
Let me just read this because I think it's actually probably one of the best descriptions of the heart that I've ever run across. They taught you the heart was just a glorified meat pump, that it squeezes and pushes blood like some crude mechanical device, a hydraulic engine made of flesh. That is what they want you to believe, because if you buy into that primitive lie, you never ask deeper questions.
Like deeper questions like, why does the heart have a far more complex neurological structure than the brain? Why does the heart send far more signals to the brain than the other way around? Interesting questions like that. Why does blood flow in a spiral in the fetus without a heart? Question.
But it is false. It has always been false. And the real science proves it. Dr. Francesco Torrenguas, a Spanish cardiac researcher, discovered what the textbooks refuse to acknowledge, that the heart is not a pump. He dissected thousands of hearts and found that the heart is a single continuous muscle band folded into a spiral. He proved that the heart works like a vortex generator, creating suction and torque, not pressure. He called it the helical ventricular myocardial band, and it changes everything. The real movement of the blood comes from pressure differentials, electromagnetic flow, and coherent resonance.
I mean, Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration. Just saying.
The blood spirals naturally. It need not be forced through miles of arteries and capillaries. The so-called pump is not strong enough to push thick fluid through 60,000 miles of tubing. That is basic physics. That lie was dead on arrival. Here is the truth. Blood moves before the heart forms in the embryo. That is, by the way, a documented fact. It flows via frequency, resonance, and electric charge. The body is a field, not a factory. Your heart creates a toroidal electromagnetic field that radiates 6 meters from the body. This field syncs with the earth, the sun, and every living being around you.
That is the energy body I'm talking about. That is how vast our energy body is. It's super important to connect to nature. All the free radicals in nature lower your cortisol, lower your inflammation, open your heart, help you come back into heart coherence. A lot of benefits.
It is a resonator, a tuner, a conductor. It aligns the rhythm of your cells. It feels, it remembers, it emits, and it responds to emotion, thought, light, sound, and breath. When you feel love, grief, fear, or peace, your heart transmits it. It is the central frequency modulator of your biology, not a pump.
Yeah, the electromagnetic field around the heart is 5,000 times stronger than the brain. You know, you think heart and soul. So Einstein quote, the field is a soul governing agency of the particle. The soul is a soul governing agency of the body, of the heart, of the nervous system. So when our nervous system is calibrated for fear, guilt, and shame, like an unpredictable childhood, like we talked about, a traumatic childhood, then that's what we attract into our life. Hence, my roommate was watching those crime shows all day long. And she was a supervisor, social worker. So she was, involved in a lot of stuff all day long. And then she would come home and do more of it. It was all day long that she was around crime. And it was like being shoved down her throat because she had yet to fully process and accept what had happened to her in her childhood. And then what that did to her and the things that she did. Very, very, very difficult to process. So, but that's what the soul plans. It like throws us at it. Like, let's lose Andrew Tate. I came into Andrew Tate's life to his best friend's life 2 months before his takedown started in August of 2022. And so I helped him open his heart. But then they didn't hire me. So then, weird thing, he got thrown in solitary confinement. What's interesting is my guy from my childhood, JC, like I told you, he got that job at GoDaddy 1 month before I reached out to Justin. He left the FBI 2 or 3 months after I attempted suicide. He was living in Hawaii getting an MBA when I was in China. And just interesting synchronicities like that. I haven't talked to him in 40 years. Interesting. Soul is the field is a soul governing agency of the particle.
And the institutions know this. The Heart Math Institute has measured these fields for decades. They know the heart has more neuronal cells than parts of the brain.
The heart has more neuronal cells, but it's all brain, brain, brain. When we put brain over heart, then we're not in alignment with our truth that the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. The soul is the sole governing agency of the body. We live in a Western society. Western society, Western worldview is God controls us. God gives us dominion. So we had manifest destiny. We killed 60 million buffalo, 100 million beavers, wolves, salmon. Indigenous population went down by 90% in America because God said, external control, pump, external control. But what happens if we were to teach everyone that they have sovereignty over their own soul, that their own soul is creating their life, that all this fear, guilt, and shame is a lie that we all been believing about ourselves. And that's why we have so much mental illness and physical illness. And that all that can stop when we learn to love ourselves, that self-love creates heaven on earth. Yeah, I'm the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. Does it show? Anyway, let's keep watching.
They know it is a second brain. They know coherence in the heart transforms the entire nervous system.
Right. When I healed from my childhood trauma, the physiological process I was going through was recalibrating my nervous system to resonate with love, compassion, and enlightenment instead of fear, guilt, and shame. I'm 10 years in. I'm good now, but I finally got out of Stockholm syndrome. It's like a couple months ago. That's how gnarly it was for me. Hence my friend, gnarly childhood.
So why are they still teaching children a 400-year-old guess from William Harvey that has never been updated?
Yeah, that is the question. But, we got an answer to that question like when they redid the food pyramid. The grains went from the most to the least. Like it was just completely inverted. And that's what I realized. Like when I'm acting from a wound, like I had a wound that I'm replaceable, which is one of the reasons I attracted in men with multiple women. Okay. So when I'm acting from that wound, I don't value myself. But when I turn that wound into wisdom, it's like, oh, okay, that was the fire captain. And then the next guy was my guy from my childhood, JC. And so I reached out to him a year and a half ago, and I'm not that. That's it. that was the end of the line. That was where I was supposed to go, and to accept that I'm the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene, and I can't speak for him, but it's my contention that he's the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. For a lot of reasons. And if you want to look into that, there's my website, carrieblazer.com. I wrote a lot of the signs and synchronicities on there. And it was, it's profound and they keep happening because if it weren't profound, how would anybody believe it? How would I believe it? Like really, like me, what? Right? But I had to believe it. And the more I believe it, the more things happen and, positive things happen in my life. So the field, if I have fear, guilt, and shame, then I'm avoiding myself, then positive things aren't happening because I have to see that I'm avoiding myself. Anyway, so how does this whole healing thing really work? I have a free ebook below that goes over my 6 pieces of wisdom. And it's really the process of accepting that you have wounds in your soul. And then you turn those wounds into wisdom and knowledge. It's like processing your challenges. Like my first lesson in the ebook is called Appreciate, Learn, Forgive. Our souls plan our lives based on our wounds for self-improvement opportunities. So why would I have regret or remorse for my life? Now, yes, I feel regret and remorse, and yes, I get upset, and yes, I feel all those things. But I let it go because I know it's a temporary emotion meant to teach me something about myself. So I highly recommend go into my ebook, check it out, see if that resonates with you. I also have, and I'll link it up above in a second, the meditation shamanic drumming video for you to use that will help you ground into your body, open your heart, and then your soul can talk to you once your heart and your soul are open and you're open for dialogue. Are you open for business to heal? And you just start doing the work. I recommend also walking barefoot in nature 3 times a week, healthy diet, healthy exercise, drink plenty of water. You know, if you were raising a kid, how would you take care of it? Take care of yourself better. Acknowledge that you have needs and that your emotions are important, and how you feel about yourself is extremely important. So because we live in a holographic universe, the universe is a mirror, self-love creates heaven on earth. Heaven is not a destination to be found. It's a frequency to be created inside of your soul, inside of your heart. So you attract in love, compassion, and enlightenment instead of fear, guilt, and shame, like all those women do who write letters to prisoners and send naked pics to rapists and murderers. It's not very healthy. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening. I hope this was helpful for you. My client services are on my website, and take care. Bye. Please like and subscribe.